After we buried my dad, Heather's mom lost her battle with leukemia that would eventually turn into lymphoma and ultimately a brain tumor would take her life. And to say that it's spun our world upside down is an understatement. We're fairly young at the time with young kids, and life got crazy really fast. And I don't know. I wrote books about this. It's been a long, long time, and I've just unpacked this in my head a million times, and I cannot tell you why this particular day was special. But Heather used to have to put my socks and shoes on me when I go to work in the morning. And for some reason, this particular day, when our eyes met, I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm the next human. Like she's gonna have to do this for me. She's gonna have to go through all the same stuff we just went through. You know, the obituary, picking up the coffin, all this crazy stuff. And she's gonna have to do it for me. And then on top of that, when it's over and the dust settles, she's gonna raise 2 kids alone. So I knew I had to do something. I just didn't know what to do. So I did what really smart people do. I went on YouTube, I found a really famous influencer, and I followed their advice. And this guy I found, to this day I have not found this video by the way. He had this thing called bariatric surgery. He lost a whole bunch of weight, and a year later, he was just as big as I was. A year later, he's running marathons. Like, that's what I have to do. So I went to this clinic that we had, got all the OKs, I went to some classes. All I had left to do was get signed off by the doctor to get surgery. But when I went in there, they sat me down for my blood pressure. It was 255 over 115. I was already on 2 different blood pressure meds, highest they could go. My pulse was like 130. And at this time, I was on like 20 prescription meds, not counting my painkillers. And the doctor said, you're never going to make it through your surgery. Your heart's not going to make it. And he said, not only that, I know with all these narcotics and how the anesthesia is going to affect you. So I can remember going home that night thinking, I tried. Like I honestly tried. And now, of course, it's not my fault, it's the doctor's fault. Because I did what I was supposed to do. But I went to bed that night, and I couldn't stop thinking about this one day that Heather was telling me about when she went to the hospital with her mom. Her mom, towards the end with the brain tumor, she kept going back for more and more radiation. And it was kind of like, it wasn't doing anything. And the doctor said to her, Carol, why do you keep coming back for this radiation? And she said, I just want to be here for one more day with my family. And I could not shake that. And that made me think, like, just out of respect for her, I have to try something. So I did. And again, I think the point to this is I did a lot of things wrong, but I did something. And I think a lot of people get stuck wanting to have this perfect plan in place, and then they do nothing. So I went, at the time it was called Atkins. And it was like my dream because my life was meat and cheese and processed foods. And this was perfect for me. I could eat, chicken wings and cheese every day and be on the diet. And to be fair, I did lose weight, but it's definitely not sustainable and it's not healthy at all. I put a picture of a chair here because I figured, well, people eat right, but then they exercise. And I couldn't hardly walk. It was knee immobilizers and canes and crutches. But I could get out of a chair once. It was a lot of work. And I thought, you know what? If I can get out of a chair once, I can do it twice. So I wrote down in a journal, I wrote down what I was going to eat for the day, and I wrote chair times 2. And that's how I started my fitness journey. I would get up out of my office chair, I'd sit back down, and I'd get up again. And those changes actually started a cascade of a whole bunch of cool stuff. Because as I was doing this, I was losing weight, but I wasn't feeling better. I was watching Netflix in this film called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead popped up on the screen. And to be honest with you, I didn't really pay attention to what was going on in the movie. I just knew I wanted what Joe Cross had. Joe Cross comes to the U.S. From Australia. He's got a crazy cool accent, and he consumes nothing but vegetable and fruit juice out of this juice machine for 60 days. All his metabolic numbers get better, and he loses some weight. But more importantly, he cures himself from this autoimmune disease. And by the end of the film, I was so inspired, I went and bought one of these juicers. Now, keep in mind, I grew up on a farm. We processed all our own meats. We hunted, we fished. When we weren't hunting and fishing, we were planning on hunting and fishing. And this was my life. I didn't really think this through. I don't know if I thought I was going to be putting pizza in this thing or what. But I get the juicer home January 1st, 4 14 years ago. Something like 14 years ago, January 1st, I started loading up this juicer on New Year's Day. And I don't know if anyone's ever made juice before, but I put what I thought was a lot of vegetables in there and about a quarter cup of juice. I said, we got a problem. So the one thing that this did is it showed us how to shop for real food. We had always bought packages. We went to the freezer and refrigerator section. We never produce aisles for weird people. And so the juice fast starts. 3 days, like I'm like miserable. Like I was so hungry, and most of the time I just went to bed. The 4th day, my hunger subsided, and the 5th day, I have told that I get choked up just talking about this. But the 5th day, no matter how many times I tell a story, like I can't not get goosebumps. I woke up in the same exact position that I fall asleep. 5 days. I'm just vegetable and fruit juice. And I couldn't believe it. It was literally a miracle. This is all I wanted to do, like all the vodka, all that stuff to try to sleep. And literally 5 days on raw juice did that for me. As time went on, my eczema got better, my breathing got better, my face cleared up, I got some color back, I got some energy. I would forget to take my medicine. But it was getting close to the end of 30 days, and I knew it's not sustainable. So, but because I watched this, a film called Forks Over Knives popped up in my mind. And I tell people that Forks Over Knives didn't just save my life, it literally gave me a brand new life. And after I watched that, we could talk about getting aggravated about seeing Colin Campbell's research on casein and milk protein and cancer. Like no one ever talked, going through my father and my mother-in-law, no one ever once talked about nutrition. We did know that her mom, towards the end, she was craving blueberries and asparagus. Weird. But looking back, we didn't know what that was, but looking back, like her body needed nutrition. And even me, like I was overeating, but I was undernourished. I was just eating empty crap. But because I watched this, a whole bunch of other breadcrumbs came back up, and this all started making sense to me. So along with the food, I feel like I have to tell the story every time I do a presentation. So Heather used to walk with the kids a lot. And I would usually sit in my chair with ice on my knees, icing stuff down, and she'd always be polite and say, "You want to go for a walk?" And I would deny her every single time. And one day she goes, "You want to go for a walk?" And I could just see when I said something that applies to her. And I think I asked her what was wrong with the car. Like, why would you walk with a perfectly good car in the driveway? But I could see how badly she felt. So I'm like, you know what? I'll go for a walk. So this first walk, we were supposed to go 3/4 of a mile, turn around and come back. And I couldn't finish. I made it a little less than halfway. My kids captured this lovely moment with a picture. You can see how happy I was. But at this point, I was immobilized. I literally couldn't bend my knees, so it was like walking on sticks. It was just full. But I don't know, for some reason, I wanted to go back and finish that walk, and I did. And, you know, I had always loved the outdoors and stuff, so I really became passionate about hiking. And a half mile would turn into 1, and 1 would turn to 2. And some days I would go out on a Saturday, it would take me all day, but I'd cover 10 miles while I was hiking. And I would get my family involved, and it was so nice because for years, I kind of couldn't do anything like that. And it was so nice to finally be able to do stuff with the family. We had like an outdoor playground. Another one of the dominoes that kind of tipped for me, has anybody ever been to the high peaks Adirondacks? It's my favorite place on the planet. And we love it there, Lake Placid. And my cousin actually climbed a high peak, and he said something to me that literally changed my life. He said, you know, people always say, oh, the picture doesn't do it justice, because when you think about it, how many people actually stand on the summit of a mountain and see it with their own eyes? Forget the picture, like actually see that. So I called my doctor, the same one that denied me the surgery. I called my doctor and I said, Dr. Kumar, I'm going to be climbing a mountain, so we got to do something with these immobilizers. And instead of laughing, he said, okay. So he sent me to prosthetics company. They casted my legs and they did these fancy braces. And I started walking steps, just 5, 6 steps. That turned into 10 and then 20. Before I knew it, I was actually timing myself how many hours I went up and down the stairs. I did that the whole winter. And then in the spring, I tried my first summit and didn't make it. We had to turn around and come back a couple weeks later. But I finally was able. It took 17 hours to get to the top of the mountain. and I had one brace on. And I think that was another one of those dominoes, because for years I've heard that I was supposed to be in a wheelchair. I was supposed to keep my body as quiet as I possibly can and just do nothing. Just try to extend everything. And it really showed me that a lot of times we give ourselves these narratives because we hear them somewhere else, and then we kind of stick to those narratives. We never challenge them. So it's okay to do stuff we're not supposed to do. And this really taught me that really anything could be possible. And again, I would bring my family up to the mountains, and we just fell in love with it. I can kind of act really smart now and tell you I knew what was happening. I had no idea what was happening in my body, but the lack of processed, the lack of animal products, the lack of oils and sugars, that took all the inflammation out of my body. And then by eating greens and berries and fruits and whole grains, that just gave my body the blocks that it needs to heal. And so our bodies don't want to be sick. They just need to be nourished the right way. And we can't keep jamming poison into our bodies or expecting them to heal. On top of that, this EDS that I have, the Ehlers-Danlos, my joints are really weak. They still are. I dislocate all the time. But the difference is, once I start getting some muscle on my joints, which is exactly what they told me I couldn't do, they kind of took over for where my joints were weak. And it was this perfect storm for my body to heal itself. I didn't heal myself from EDS. I still have symptoms, but I have no pain, no inflammation, and I can do some pretty crazy things. So from here, so I kind of came back to Heather, and I'm like, we're sitting at the table, Carolyn's there, our daughter, and I said, I think I want to run 5K. And my daughter just snapped right there. See, as you know, real people run 5Ks. I don't really know what that meant, but Heather thought a 5K was more than a marathon, so we set up about 30 water bottles around our 3rd-mile block, and off we went to train for our first 5K. And I'm telling you, I've crossed a lot of finish lines, but this one is monumental to me. Our first 5K. I didn't know what a race bib was. I had never walked underneath the finish line before, and we got so emotional at the end. People felt we got bad news while we were out on the course. It was a beautiful thing. On the way home, I kind of gave her a nudge, and I'm like, what about a 10K? Right? Why not? And she goes, I'm not doing the 10. I almost puked on my boot shoes. I am not doing the 10. So a few weeks later, we were able to do our first 10K together, which was a benefit for hospice, which meant a lot to us. And on the way home, I gave her another nudge, and I'm like, what about a half marathon? She goes, you're nuts. I'm out. I'm done. And funny thing is, that night I went up to bed, and on my dresser I had this handicap parking permit, and it was about to expire in September, which just happened to be the month of our big Mighty Niagara Falls, our big Mighty Niagara half marathon. And I thought, how cool would it be to park legally in a handicap spot and run my first half marathon? I didn't park in the spot, but I did take that pass, and I knew it was going to be super hard. So I put a picture of Heather's mom and my dad. I had a friend that was battling cancer, and I punched a hole in that, and I wore it around my waist for my first half marathon. And it was an amazing, amazing day. From there, I would get into marathons, and this is kind of where my story hit the newspaper, and then everything got crazy. But I would get into marathons, and I found people do these really long distance cycling things, and so I wrote a few centuries, and it just kind of made sense to learn how to swim, even though I was petrified to be in the water. I got into triathlon. And this triathlon, this is at Lake Placid, and I told you it means a lot to me, but this was a half Ironman, so 70.3. And I can remember my coach saying, look at me, it's going to get tough, you're going to want to quit. You got to focus on the finish line the whole time. And I did. But it wasn't the same finish line everyone else was focused on. Because, you know, in the shape I was in, every time Heather would see me, she always felt sorry for me. She didn't know how to help me. She felt hopeless, right? And she wanted to help me. It's kind of like the doctors. They would look like they wanted to help me. They didn't know what to do. But for the first time, I came around the oval where the miracle at Placid happened. And when our eyes met, she was just full of pride. She was so freaking proud of me. And I did it. I did my first 70.3. It was a tough day, but I was glad I was focused on that finish line instead of the finish line everyone else's. And then I would go on to do full Ironmans in Placid. It's a tough day. It's a 2.5 mile open water swim, 112 miles on the bike with 10,000 feet of climb. and you finish with a nice little marathon through the mountains. It's a long day, but Heather's been there. She pulled me through this last year too. I wouldn't have done it without her. She took me the last 8 miles. So again, not a flex, but this is 25 years old. I was supposed to be in a wheelchair. They said I would never work, much less walk. I really had trouble walking to my mailbox. And this is the power of not only food, but the power of our decisions. This is all really cool, and we got a lot of medals and letters from governors and senators and half the stuff I don't even know what it is. And it's really fun, and that's what gets me on stages. But I just want to talk to you about the stuff that really matters to me. I told you that the first time I went out with my kids and my wife on this trail, that I got a DNF or did not finish. And what was really cool, the next time we got together on a trail, the 3 of them were my pacers for a 50-mile ultra race. And we did that together. We did it together. And it was the coolest thing because we all worked together. We all worked really, really hard to get me to the end of this 50-mile race. Then I told you that Heather used to put my socks and shoes on me. I got to return the favor because she was struggling to put her backpack on. She just couldn't get her arm through. And I was able to help her put her backpack on, but this time we were 6,700 feet in the air because we just summited Mount Washington together. I never thought in a million years that was on my list of things to do. My metabolic numbers, my triglycerides sometimes were off the chart. This was actually a low one, 259. After I went plant-based, they're down to 74. Cholesterol, I was always on Lipitor. It was always well over 300. Actually, this says 117. I think I'm at 103, the last blood work I've had. I asked my doctor what medicine can do this. He says, medicine on the planet cannot do this. It can take you from 300 down into the low 100s. It's impossible with medicine. Can't do it. This is interesting. If you like money, have money, want money, this is super interesting. Everyone talks about the health crisis. I don't know that we have a health crisis. We'll talk about that in a minute. But as far as economy goes, this is 2009. My insurance company spent almost $20,000. This is not on doctor's visits, not on surgery, none of that. This is literally just on pharmaceuticals. That's it. This is just me going to the pharmacy. 20,000 bucks. After I adopted a whole food plant-based diet, 2015-16 combined, they wouldn't give it to me on one sheet. The insurance company gave me the 2 years mix, 120 bucks. It was for B12 that I could have got at Walmart. That's powerful because these are just decisions. There's no magic here. I just ate real food and moved my butt. Like, that's what I did for this. Imagine if we could get even 10% of the population to do this, how it would change our health crisis. The ripple effect. My decisions, my bad decisions, my addictions, they didn't just hurt me, they hurt everyone around me. And it's easy, like, even if you're not an addict, it's easy to think that, well, it's my decision, my consequence. But that's not true. The choices you make have an effect on people around you and the animals and the environment, the economy. But it works the other way too. So a couple of years after I switched to whole food plant-based, Heather did too. And I like to run to finish, but she's a little more aggressive than me. She runs to win. And to see her just like a kid that, she took the gym class day off when you had to do that test, the fitness test, and she would never run even if someone was chasing her. To see her out just enjoying, like I cannot tell you what it's like to watch her run and she's got her music on. She's just so happy. And that is so cool to me. That's the stuff that matters. And I don't have to get into all this because there's people way smarter than me here, but these numbers, I can't keep up with them anymore. I just literally can't keep changing them. But 70% of the population right now is overweight or obese. We have, this number is so low right now, $4 trillion. 20% of the gross domestic product gets spent on chronic disease. They're just lifestyle diseases, mainly from inflammation. When I first read this, I'm like, this is no way. 70% of the US is on a prescription med. Then I started thinking 10 people that I know, sure, 7 of them probably are on a prescription med. Heart disease, stroke, certain cancers, lung disease, high blood pressure. This stuff is all growing and growing and growing at an alarming rate. But here's the weird thing. We put more money, we put more time, we have better technology, but we keep getting sicker. So why is that? I think the problem is, my personal opinion, is we need to stop looking for the cure and we need to start looking for the cause. And I believe that cause is right on our plates. Breaking stereotypes. I do this one for my high school kids, and so hopefully you guys will like it. Everyone thinks that vegans are these weak, wimpy tree huggers, and they think that we lawnmower clippings, like that's what we do, right? But nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, many elite athletes are whole food, plant-based, and vegan. In fact, Germany's strongest man right now has been vegan for over a decade, Patrick Balumian. Our food is delicious. It's alive. It's full of color. It's full of flavor. There's so much variety. And every one of those colors gives you a different medicine, right? And if we just eat these colorful foods, we can thrive. We can give our body what it needs. I went at this 100% for health. But what I've learned along in my journey is this is way better for the environment. It's obviously better for the animals. And obviously I showed you it's better for the economy as well. Everyone thinks eating healthy is expensive, but it's really not. I mean, we eat a lot of beans and rice and potatoes. I don't know how much cheaper food you can get. We eat peasant food, right? So I wasn't going to do this today, but I think it's a good kind of way to reflect a little bit before I finish up. So if I told you guys I have $1 million and I'm going to give it away, think about what $1 million could do for you or other people. Who would take $1 million? Like 2 people? Most people would take $1 million, right? So who's willing to take this $1 million if you knew tomorrow that you'd be terminal and only have a day to live? There's not a person that would do it, right? So the point here is our health is priceless. It's worth far more than $1 million. We need to start living like it's priceless. It's the most valuable thing you have. And so I thought about this a lot because it hurts me. I work with a lot of people, work with a lot of families, and I see them, pick up a healthy lifestyle. Can I talk about my mom? I could talk about my mom. My mom, I took her to Plant Stock one time. I was speaking there at the Esselstyn farm, and she locked in, whole food, plant-based. She lost 80 pounds, got off literally all her meds. She'd been on blood pressure meds her whole life. She got rid of neuropathy in her feet. She was out walking. It was perfect. She went on a cruise, got a little sidetracked, came back, heavier than when she left, and she just gave it all away. And it breaks my heart to see because this happens over and over and over again, and I wonder why. And I think, for me, that last kind of domino that tipped could be the most important one, and that's sustainability. I think that we have it backwards. I think that a lot of us think we need to eat healthfully so we can have a good life, and I would ask you guys to flip that around. Because if you're going to eat healthy, to sit on the couch, watch Netflix, binge on series, doom scroll on TikTok, what's the point of eating healthy foods? To push a Snickers bar away and grab some broccoli? Why are you doing that when you sit in front of the TV? And I think the key to sustainability is to build a life that can only be maintained by healthy choices. And I think if we can get a hold of that, I don't know about you guys, but when I get old, I don't want to sit around. I want to go on new adventures. I want to climb new mountains. I want to learn how to paddleboard someday. This is the things that I want to do. And the only way that's going to happen is if I make healthy choices. And that's the beautiful thing about lifestyle. Everyone talks about, can we change our lifestyle? But really, what does that mean? No one can really change their lifestyle. What does that even mean? But here's the cool thing. If you boil it down, basically a simple healthy choice will turn into a habit if you do it enough. And those habits over time, they'll turn into a routine. And guess what those routines turn into? A lifestyle. And that's it. We don't have to think ahead. We don't have to worry about the wedding we're going to next month. All we have to do is make the next choice a healthy choice. And that's all we have to do. The lifestyle will come from that. So, with that said, I have time for Q&A. If you guys want, I have the food that kind of started us off on this journey. there's a cookbook if you want to scan that, and then you can be on our email list too. And actually, this is great. I have time for questions, and I didn't pass out from the heat. It's actually getting cooler in here. So thank you guys so much. Yes. Yeah. So for me, well, I screwed up a lot. Like for every 100 mistakes I made one thing that was good. But then it's all about how many 100 mistakes you make. So for me, the last animal products I ate was that New Year's night before the juice fast. So I hadn't had any animal products. Now we were still eating like oils and stuff, even after Forks Over Knives for a little bit, but you kind of learn as you go. Mine was kind of instant. Yeah. And I think what kept me going, because I would never suggest that for someone that was eating like me, but I think what kept me in the game was the immediate results. I saw the results, it motivated me, like, holy cow, like, where can I take this? And people, I've talked to Doug Lyle, we've had this conversation. Is it better to just go all in or and the jury's out on it? Like it works different for both, I'm a Band-Aid kind of, I'm like an all in kind of guy to begin with. So yeah. Yes. When and how I met up with Chef AJ. Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I think she found me. I'm not sure. Oh, really? Yeah, it was. I think I was in the Truth About Weight Loss for a while, and that stuff's fun, and I've been interviewed by her and stuff, and that's great. But like now, like where we are now, we have a friendship, and we text each other a lot and check in on each other. So it's turned into from, hey, can I interview you, and you interview me, to, we're buddies now. So yeah. Anybody else? Yes. Oil, sunflower, olive oil. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah. So the question was, do I eat any oils? And then a list of oils. So there's a whole bunch of ways to approach this, but from a caloric standpoint, oil is a really bad deal for a food addict. I can have 2 tablespoons of oil or 3 potatoes. I'm going for the potatoes every time. And I think, again, I'm just focusing on calories right now. I think a lot of people will take a chunk of iceberg, carrots, celery, cucumber, tomato, and they have this beautiful salad. And no one's really going to put 2 tablespoons of dressing on there. It's more like half a cup, kind of drowned it out. What they don't realize, they're taking an 80-calorie salad and turn it into like 900 calories just from the oil. So from calorically, it's a really bad deal. For me, I think it's super inflammatory. That said, like I do ground flax every morning. I mean, I do get the omega-3s and stuff like that. And I'm probably more picky about that now than I used to be. And as far as fats, I eat tofu. I eat, walnuts. I kind of got to be careful with nuts because I could eat like 3 pounds of them at a sitting. But I'm still getting healthy fats for sure. But I personally do not do any oil. Not saying when I go to a restaurant, we go out to dinner or something, not putting oil on the rice, but yeah, I avoid it, unless I'm out somewhere. Yes. Do you do anything different specifically for the gym or building muscle? I do now, actually. Yeah, that's a good question. Do I do anything for the gym now for building muscle? So I used to. I think I never even used to think about it because it works for me. I mean, I had a 500-pound deadlift, and I never even I didn't even know there was more protein in beans because I was just doing my thing. I was just eating what made me feel good. I ate food that didn't make me feel like I need to crawl under the table and go to sleep. I've had some issues. I had almost lost my foot actually, and I've had to heal up some bones and stuff. And I've done a lot of research on it. And so I don't get obsessed with it, but I do make sure that I eat more. I never used to eat tempeh. I eat tempeh probably a half of a pack of tempeh almost every day. And I'm more conscious of, a little more lentils, a little less potato kind of thing. But it's, what? People think it's so hard to get protein. Like I can grow pretty good muscle if I really want to. And it's not hard on whole food. It really isn't. Especially if you're trying to be calorie deficient or neutral. You just have to make your choice. It's like, yeah, push the potatoes away, get the black beans, things like this. Maybe not so much rice and more tempeh, because you are kind of trading stuff. But there's so many good sources of protein, and they don't have to be crazy high calorie. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes. Yes. So are my 2 children plant-based? So I would say my 2 children are 90% vegan, but not healthy vegan, or not, not whole food plant-based. They have their moments. They eat if they're coming over to visit. They're old. They're 30 and 28, 27. So when they come over, they eat what we feed them. But I would say mostly vegan, but they do the vegan cheese and sour cream and that. Yeah. Yes.
What do you think is the right quantity of protein to not only, I mean, I know the whole argument about, I've been in that argument about
Sure.
serving of protein and that, but what do you think is the right amount?
Yeah, so what do I think the right amount is? You're going to do a whole thing on that, right? Protein?
Yeah, I'm talking about protein.
A whole thing on protein. But I think it can be different for different people, but it's not as much as we think. Yes? Is that a good answer?
Yes, I am going to be going into, there's a lot of misinformation about protein.
Sure.
And our protein requirements are actually the most protein we need. And what he's talking about is actually building some protein. To maintain protein, most people eat 20 to 50% more protein than they actually need. And we're going to talk about why that's dangerous at a later talk this afternoon.
Yeah, you definitely want to get on that topic. Yes?
I'm curious what you noticed in changing your diet, how you're digestifying.
Oh my gosh. Can I talk about poop? Like, okay. Yeah. So last question, and we're next door. I think we have like 10 books. I didn't bring a whole lot of books, but we do have 10 books. So digestion, I'll just talk about poop because I don't really care. And so to be fair, a lot of this, opioids, painkillers, like they bind you up like crazy. And I don't even want to get into. They're literally, I would go 2 weeks without making a bowel. Like 2 weeks because of all the narcotics. They would just, and it was awful. But now, it's all about fiber, right? And so my system works really well, and Heather's does. Good, I say that Heather's does as well. It's night and day. You know what? I think I'll close with this. I think a lot of times, did you ever take your car to the shop and they're like, "Oh, you have a bad wheel bearing"? You're like, "No, I don't." No, you do. And then they fix it, and you go down the road like, "Holy crap, that was awful! Like I didn't realize how bad it was." I think our health is kind of like that. We don't know how many things are broken until they're. Look at, I get goosebumps. We don't know. This is so true, guys. We don't know how good we can have it if we just eat whole plant food. And it's amazing to know what you have wrong with you that you don't even know you have wrong with you until it's fixed. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and thank you guys for being such a great audience.
Thank you so much, Tim.